truth. E.T. exhumed near Alamogordo, New Mexico. The Tularosa Basin in New Mexico has a rather unusual history. The stories and legends are prolific in the histories of the peoples who have passed through it over the centuries. There are colorful tales of cowboys, Indians, outlaws, and rich deposits of minerals. And more legends of UFOs and aliens from other worlds than you can shake a stick at. And it is possible that some of these stories might even be true. The northern end of the Tularosa Basin is where the Trinity nuclear test occurred, where the very first atomic bomb was detonated on July 16, 1945, in a location known as Jornada del Muerto. Loosely translated, that means the dead man's journey. In the old legends, there is evidence that there have been some paranormal activities, supernatural events, and visits from entities from other worlds happening there for centuries. And after the Second World War and the Trinity test, the reports of UFOs and extraterrestrials increased. Well, is that because there was actually an increase in this type of event, or did humans just start noticing? Who knows? But the strange and unusual continues. The larger region of the high desert covers portions of New Mexico, Nevada, Texas, Utah, and California, and it includes Alamogordo bombing range, White Sands testing grounds, and nuclear testing continued there well into the end of the last century. To this day, the region is a hotbed for testing of all kinds of secret military equipment, from strange aircraft to advanced weapons, and probably drones and robots. And here is one amazing urban legend, one that is actually true. The evidence is out there. Artifacts, pictures, testimonials, all of it. The story begins in the context of the 1980s, and it is one that involves Hollywood, the fall of the Atari video game empire, and a rather large excavator. And it ends with the uncovering of somewhat unique, high-value artifacts that were sold at auction, the rediscovery of technology that in the 1980s was considered advanced, artifacts that had been purposefully hidden from the public for decades. No FBI, no CIA, no NSA. No, really. There was, in point of fact, a true and literal cover-up. So how do we find this odd intersection of the 1980s, Hollywood, the high deserts of the Southwest United States, UFOs, extraterrestrials, a large track hoe, Atari, and a somewhat large and smelly hole dug out by that big old track hoe? And just so you are aware, there is no proof of military or U.S. government agencies involved in this affair. And that's not because of a thorough cover-up. It's because they really weren't involved. No, really, they had nothing to do with this very weird event. Anyway, here it is, in a strange and kind of twisted little nutshell. There is a highly popular blockbuster Spielberg film that was released in 1982. The movie was called E.T., the Extra-Terrestrial. The video game king at the time, Atari, got the rights to create a video game based on the film. There was a massive hype about the game, so it was rolling out from the popularity of the movie and anticipating huge sales. They manufactured thousands upon thousands of game cartridges, all loaded up and ready to plug into their proprietary state-of-the-art Atari game console. But there was a problem. Once the game was released, fans hated it. In fact, it has been rated by many sources as the absolute worst video game ever. Sales of the game fell off a cliff, and so did the anticipated profits. In fact, losses were so big that the failure of the E.T. video game has been identified as one of the biggest contributors to the fall of the video game king at the time, Atari. The public were not interested. Nobody wanted the thing. They couldn't even incentivize people by giving them a free copy of the game when they purchased a game console. Folks would open up the box to their brand new console and toss the E.T. game cartridge and play something else. Details of the cover-up. With dirt. In 1983, in frustration and humiliation, Atari chose to take an entire warehouse full of game cartridges, haul them away, and toss them into a big hole in an industrial garbage dump in Alamogordo, New Mexico. But, now rare as hen's teeth, by 2014, the horrible E.T. video game had become a cult classic. But getting a copy of the game was impossible. Everyone, including Atari, had just thrown them out years ago. The disposal of the E.T. game under the cover of night and Alamogordo became the stuff of legend. Atari claimed this never happened. But the rumors were out there. Somebody told somebody, and a few years later somebody told somebody else, and then the treasure hunt began. In 2014, the exhumation began in that landfill in Alamogordo, and a portion of those lost E.T. game cartridges were found. Finally, at the bottom of that stinking hole, they hit pay dirt. Somewhere in the neighborhood of 1,300 games were recovered, and around 900 or so were the coveted E.T. video game. Around 100 of these were gifted to the film crew who inspired the dig. As they were filming a documentary on the lost E.T. game, 23 copies went to museums, and 297 were kept for the future. And roughly 900 games were sold on eBay for a whopping $107,000. That's around $1,500 a piece. There are several insightful little ounces of wisdom in this tale of the fall and rise of the E.T. video game. But might I suggest we focus on just one? A big phenomenon in popular culture is inspired by a blockbuster movie. It motivates a video game spin-off. However, the video game not only bombs, it becomes the thermonuclear impetus that knocks a video game king off its throne. And the humiliating evidence of this debacle, in the form of unsold game cartridges, gets tossed and buried. Buried to hide the failure and shame, or disposed of to save on the cost of storage, for something nobody wants. Either way, it's a conspicuously surreptitious act. The value of a thing changes over time. It changes depending on who is assessing the value. Sometimes this value is influenced by rarity, or maybe volume, or genius, or curiosity, or its quality, or its ability to fill a want or need. The story of the E.T. video game is a great analog, or allegory, of how value can change. That a thing's worth is often not static. What was, and arguably still is, considered by some one of the worst video games ever made, is to others true treasure. So, here's the ounce. Value, like beauty, is in the eye of the beholder. And truthfully, both the value and the beauty are there whether the beholder sees them or not. And that's it. An ounce submitted for your consideration. Thanks for watching this video. Hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, give us a thumbs up. Subscribe, share it with your friends. We need to do everything we can to convince the algorithms in the internet that we are worth watching. And we need your help. Thanks.